Welcome guys, here we are at Lowe's, gonna do a shopping video, and I'm just gonna get right into it. And then later on in the video, I would like to read some of your comments. So if I'm filming, by the time I start filming, everybody's comment that has came in that day about the previous video, then I'm just gonna try to read those while I'm on camera. The first thing I wanted to talk about is this Kaleidoscope Abelia. Let me give you some tips about Kaleidoscope Abelia. Kaleidoscope Abelia wants to be trimmed because it wants to be beautiful. I think they look a little leggy. Even in full sun, they have a tendency to just kind of look worn out. But if you trim them, you get this really pretty reddish pink variegated leaf. I mean, it's cool. And that's what the nurseries do. I've always said the key to selling a plant is new growth. And what accompanies new growth? Flowers accompany new growth. Variegated leaves accompany new growth. Dappled willows. Dappled willows are like that. You trim a dappled willow, it flushes the new growth. The new growth is the selling point for a dappled willow. The new growth is the selling point for the Kaleidoscope Abelia. I like Kaleidoscope Abelia. It's evergreen, it flowers. It does have a tendency in a real hard winter to defoliate. I like to trim these down to about, I like to keep them around 18 inches. I don't like to get them really that tall and crazy. This says that it gets, it's 24 to, 2.5 feet and a little wider, about a foot wider. Kaleidoscope Abelia, that's a good one. Do I want something that isn't gonna look good unless I dote on it? And I feel like Kaleidoscope Abelia will get leggy on you if you don't do that. Ready for the pet peeve part about this? This is a 2-gallon pot for $45. $45. I can take you to a privately owned garden center right now. We could get in the man-mobile right now and head down to a privately owned garden center where these are $35 a piece for a 3-gallon. So my question is, Monrovia, I love you, but you out your damn mind. It's all just an equation based on what they pay for something. I'm sure the computer automatically kicks out what that's gonna cost, which means Monrovia charged them too much for that. It's kind of one of those things in the nursery industry. You cannot just apply the same blanket equation to everything you bring in, because there is no way that I'm going to pay $45 for a 2-gallon. I don't care who cultivated it. It's a Kaleidoscope Abelia. They've been around for a while. I don't think it's a patented variety. Any Joe Schmo can grow it. Now, can they grow it as well as Monrovia? I don't know. I think they do a fantastic job. They inoculate their soil. They put out some amazing material. They leave stuff for a while in the pots before they ship it out. I've never popped a 1-gallon out of a Monrovia pot and had it not have plenty of roots to sustain itself. That's never happened to me. But I'm also not paying $45 for one in a 2-gallon. I mean, let's be realistic. I had to talk about this one. When it comes to Barberry, I understand the negative stigma that is associated with Barberry. There's been too many stupid landscape contractors that like to put these next to people's water spigots in the front yard. It doesn't make any doggone sense. You don't put a Barberry where you go, you put a Barberry where you see. These are not for places that you walk, a place where you need this dark, beautiful purple color. And if I use it in conjunction with some of the other Barberry, I think there's like a firehouse columnar Barberry that's just the most stunning. Pink almost color. Look at these lime green Barberry. Golden rocket Barberry, these right here. A little bit more columnar, 3 to 5 feet, 2 to 3 feet wide. Beneficial fungus, beneficial bacteria inoculants to your fertilizer tablets. You're doing some root stimulator. You're keeping it happy. It's in full sun. Let's say 5 feet by 3 feet. So it's gonna be about right here, but it's only gonna be about 1.5 feet in each direction. Barberries can be trimmed, can get that nice columnar look. The appeal of Barberry is visual. It's not textural. I don't want to touch this Barberry. Well, at least not twice. Barberry have thorns on them. This is a Sunjoy Mini Maroon, 2 feet by 2 feet. You also have the Crimson Pygmy Barberry, which is another very small, very slow growing Barberry. That's very pretty. It's an oldie but a goodie. This one here is the Royal Burgundy Barberry, right? So you see, you get this rich purple color, but you don't have to worry about this thing getting 9 feet tall. It's only gonna get about 3. Then you have different colors. Don't count Barberry out because people have done dumb things with Barberry in the past. Look at that combo. Look at that. Come on. Are we rethinking Barberries a little bit? So there's a negative stigma associated with Barberries, but that's just because people have used them in the wrong way. I'm gonna go off on a tangent real quick. Blue Atlas cedars, when we started seeing a lot of Blue Atlas cedars in the retail space, Blue Atlas cedars were being put very frequently right next to the house. Not one of those dingbats read the tag, because the tag says it gets 40 feet tall. I saw it on commercial properties, I saw it on new residential properties, I saw it on old residential properties that were getting a remake. The Charlie Brown Christmas tree, as people like to call it, was a very popular tree when they're nice and little and petite and cute. They're adorable right between your sidewalk and your porch, right? And there's that little spot that everybody loved to put a blue atlas cedar. I talked to a contractor one day, I said, where are you putting that blue atlas cedar? He's like, you know, he described the area just described. I said, you know, they get 45 feet tall, right? You know what he told me? It looks good now, doesn't it? So for me, I have a responsibility to the homeowner. I also have a responsibility to the homeowner that's going to buy that house. I also have a responsibility to the tree. Now, without sounding like too big of a hippie about it, it's a big responsibility for landscaping, being a backdrop to memories. Once again, I'll say that, but it's also a big responsibility because that tree will outlive you. So putting it in the right place, wouldn't it be nice if you can give it the opportunity to grow and live to its full potential? Maybe I live in a fantasy world, but I feel like that's kind of a good way to plant things. Barberry, you've got the Sunjoy Mini Maroon. It's very hard to remember all of these varieties. Royal Burgundy Barberry, which is a little bit bigger. And then you have the Golden Rocket, which is right next to them. So they all get different sizes. To tell you the truth, you plant one of these smaller varieties of Barberry, you might not have to do anything but just buzz it so it stays nice and thick, and you're good, and you can enjoy that dark purple color all year long. There's a type of barberry called a Concord barberry, which is one of my favorites. Gets about 3 feet tall. I like to keep them trimmed, but they're absolutely stunning. Where in the world can you get that dark purple color other than in a Concord grape? This is the Little Giant Arborvata. These are really cool for the bringing structure to the garden. They're very cool for that. They do a good job. The problem I see with people using these is they put them too close together when they're nice and cute like this. I mean, they get 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. So you need to plant them on 4-foot centers if you want to maintain that beautiful circle appearance. So if you have 2 circles and you have them too close together, it just looks like a McDonald's sign. Well, don't do that. Give them enough room to enjoy themselves. Give them enough room to thrive. You're going to get the look you want out of them. So give them enough room, give them plenty of food, give them plenty of water. They're not going to want wet feet, well-drained soil, because we have a lot of clay here, so sometimes that can affect them. Look at that little guy. I mean, it's immediate gratification with these. Just don't overdo it and put them too close to each other. I'm not saying put them too close to other things, right? Because it is an evergreen. So I'm a flower phobic, so I'm afraid of not enough flowers. So if you have these too close together, they're not going to give you the look you want. If you don't incorporate enough color, if you don't incorporate enough dynamics in the garden, you're going to get bored. So when I see people use all evergreens, they get bored. When I see people use all perennials, there's nothing there in the wintertime. I don't care if there's nothing in the wintertime because I'm usually not out hanging out in 8-degree weather. I'm cool with just having stuff in the summer. What's going to happen in early spring? What's going to welcome me into the spring? What's going to pop through the snow in the spring and put out a flower? What's going to do that mid-spring, late spring, early summer, midsummer, late summer? What's going to bloom all summer long? What's going to give me great fall color? Little Giant Arborvata, and there's lots of different varieties of these Thuja, T-H-U-J-A, Thuja. So look those up and start, if that's something that really appeals to you, because there's Hetzi Midgets, Fire Chief Arborvata, which is really pretty. I've done a short on that, I believe. That's a great one. There's also this variety here, which is a Golden Globe Arborvata, a little smaller, 2 to 3 feet tall, but this has more of that green giant Arborvata feel to it. It's a little bit more wispy. So if you're not wanting such a contrived landscape, you want it a little bit more informal, formal yet appropriate, that would be a good one for you too. And that's the Golden Globe Arborvata. Stays a little bit smaller. But these are great, do not have to worry about them type of evergreens, right? So if you plant it in the right place, you don't have to worry about trimming it. You only have to look for bagworms, and you only have to make sure that it's not going to dry out in the wintertime. So if you typically have dry winters, evergreens might not be the way to go for you because you're gonna have to go out and water those before the cold snap. Just a handful of tips on creating a good landscape. I say work in layers, make sure your taller stuff is in the back, make sure you're planting for every season. Always use daffodils whenever possible. And beneficial fungus, beneficial bacteria, 2-year fertilizer tablets, root stimulator, that goes under the category, make sure everything is fed well, take care of your biofertility. and water your evergreens in the wintertime. Watch the weather. If it's going to get -8 degrees and you haven't had rain in a week, it might be worth going out and giving them a little drinky poo. Go on to your botanical garden website, like your state botanical garden website. I like the Missouri Botanical Garden website. That's where I go, and look to see when bagworms, when a proper time to start spraying for bagworms would be when they're nice and little. If you even get bagworms in your area, you might not, but down here, that's kind of a big thing. They'll wipe some stuff out. Evergreens aren't necessarily maintenance free. It's just a different type of maintenance. So another shrub with that beautiful purple color is Weigela. Now this is Wine and Roses Weigela. I trim Weigela quite often. Blooms on new growth, right? So check that out. Very pretty. And trimming this is going to be the key to success with this as far as aesthetically achieving the success you want. I do think they have a tendency to lay down and get a little leggy. As far as disease problems go, I don't really feel like there's a whole lot of disease problems with Weigela. I have gotten nematodes on them before, but that was probably from the grower. I don't know where that would have came from, but I bleached the entire greenhouse, gravel and everything, so we got on top of that, and then didn't put Weigela back in that same house. Wine and Roses Weigela, an oldie but a goodie, but remember, you're gonna have to trim it, but when you trim it, it's accompanied by this beautiful purple leaf. Now, once they age, they kind of turn a green color, so the more you trim it, the more you're gonna get of that, and the more periodic flowers you're gonna get on the new growth. If you kind of take a look at them, they don't really necessarily have a compact habit. You have to trim them to achieve that. Wine and Roses Weigela is the grandfather of spilled wine, which is a sport of wine and roses, but it doesn't get as big. So this one, yeah, 2 to 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. So I didn't think that it would be. So, once it's established, you could probably knock this thing back to a foot every year and let it kind of reflush, then hit it back, knock it back again, let it reflush, and just kind of keep doing that. And then get on a schedule for you that makes sense. Very easy to clean up. There's no thorns or anything. So Wine and Roses 5 to 6, spilled wine 2 to 3, but let's just say 3 by 3. That's probably fair. They're gonna wanna be fed and they're gonna wanna be trimmed, guys. I'm just telling you. Weigela has a tendency to become kind of an eyesore in the landscape when it's not taken care of. And I'm not just meaning water from your irrigation system and some, Osmocote. It's gonna need some trimming. So that's Weigela, Wine and Roses Weigela, and spilled wine Weigela. Another Weigela, this one is a variegated Weigela. So like I said, there's all different shapes and sizes of Weigela. Make sure you're reading the tags and make sure you're finding out the one that's going to work the best for your landscape. Remember, all Weigela do very well when they're pruned and fed well. So Weigela, this is a variegated Weigela, so keep that in mind. All right, we're back at the clearance section. I love doing clearance stuff. That's the first place I go, and I just didn't want to waste y'all's time and I didn't want to waste my time by making a video about clearance and then not having any clearance. I got plenty of clearance over here, but stuff is a little dry. It is a little on the dry side. And it's all kind of annuals and coleus and 8-inch pots that are just kind of fizzling out. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot. There's some Super Bina red verbena over here. Proven Winners likes to do that to you. Just may absolutely tongue tie you up. They're fine. They would do fantastic. I see some for $4. I guess a $4 in the 1 gallon. That's not a bad price for that. A couple snips later and you'd have a beautiful plant. There's a couple different colors here. So you had a red, and this is the Peachy Keen. Good stuff. Not really marching to the beat of a different drummer if the other drummer is myself. I'm not really challenging myself, which is something I told myself I was going to do this year. I said, you know what, this year in the bed, I'm going to try a bunch of stuff that I've never used before. I'm really going to broaden my horizons, because I think as landscapers, we get stuck in our silos a little bit, and we get stuck in our silo and we don't want to venture out. As a landscaper, I want to venture out of my silo. When I see Violet Profusion Salvia for $4, I kind of just want to buy the rest of this flat. So there's one flat over here on the clearance. I just want to buy it because I'm like, man, I could always put that down. Fire up the power planter, 10 minutes later, I'm walking away. So I'm just going to go get a cart. The only thing I've done is looked at my phone to make sure the notifications were comments. Miss Bunny says, my discount plant deals of the week. Lowe's 3-gallon climbing hydrangeas, $6. We saw climbing hydrangeas, I think those were $5, and I think they were $8. But Miss Bunny found a 3-gallon for $6. Home Depot 5-gallon Cyphleotaxis. Oh, Miss Bunny, you should know I don't know botanical names as well as I should, for $35. So I hope that's a good deal. I'm gonna go home and Google that, and then I will leave you a comment. Anna Rodriguez says, I just found your channel. I too love Adoption Center at Lowe's. Most of my plants come from there. Anna, I agree. The vast majority of my plants, because you have the ability to plant in mass at that point, right? So sometimes I will pass on a discount plant because I can't get enough of them, right? Because I'm big into impact. And the easiest way for me to create impact is planting the same plant throughout the landscape, so I can do that. Or a big long row of black-eyed Susans or Shasta daisies or verbena or catmint or something to that effect. Although catmint, you just, you know, blink your eyes and then you got a bunch of catmint. So cool. Thank you for the comment, Anna. I think this is Tina Henderson, which she's left a bunch of comments. Thank you very much, Tina. So has Miss Bunny. I feel like I know both of you guys very well. You've got me hooked on clearance plants. Well, thank goodness, because I'm going to save you a bunch of money. If I'm the person responsible for getting you hooked on clearance plants, I'm going to save you a lot of money. Tina also asked, can you do a video on pre-emergence? I need to know about this. So pre-emergence, you can find pre-emergence here at Lowe's. You can find pre-emergence online. There's predominantly two that I deal with, which is preen and treflan. So if you look at the active ingredient, usually that's what it says. So Snapshot is preen, where the pre-emergent I typically get at the local garden center, really good price on it, is treflan. And really doing a video about it, maybe I'll do a video about it and I'll just title it Tina Henderson, here you go. And then I'll do a 5-minute video just for you. But really, you put it in a hand spreader and you spread it out on the landscape, and you do it once every 3 months with a lower concentration of the active ingredient. The higher active ingredient percentage, you do those every 6 months, but typically you pay more for those. So the reason I don't use a whole lot of Snapshot is because Snapshot's more expensive. I don't know, and I'm cheap. If I ever find a broken bag of pre-emergent, I usually always buy it. Miss Diva, who also comments quite frequently, thank you, Miss Diva. Yep, I've learned the hard way about crepe myrtles. I planted 3 and thought they were dead. I tossed 1, and then about 3 weeks later, I noticed the other 2 were starting to leaf out. Lesson learned, I'll wait it out. I think Miss Diva was like one of the first people to leave me a comment. You're right, and like I said, you do not give up on a crepe myrtle until it's time to give up on a crepe myrtle. This is the way I look at it. Right now, it's the middle of July. If your crepe myrtle doesn't have any life, I would go try to see if that stem is pliable, and I guarantee it's gonna snap. There's a certain time frame when you're just like, okay, this thing's dead, you know, because you should start seeing suckers coming out from that root mass earlier than now. I mean, by Mother's Day, you're going to have a pretty good indication if your crepe myrtles are. You should be able to start snipping on them and looking for that green cambium layer to look for that viable tissue. Omaam, O-M-A-A-M, said, you're welcome, dude, because in my last video, I was talking about how awesome you were and how much I appreciate you guys' comments and like you guys so much. Okay, so those were the comments that I've gotten so far on the Affinity update video. I want to do some plant and some education stuff also, not just, and I know that's how we met. A lot of us, the vast majority of us, I mean all but 70 of us met when I started doing shopping videos. But I do want to educate, because that's really where my passion is. I want to teach. So that's the thing. I also have gotten another job at another nursery, not nursery, a big corporate kind of like contractor-based garden center. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time there, and I'm going to be able to do a lot more educational stuff on different varieties that I see, because I'll be on site with the nursery. But I'm still going to do clearance stuff. I still enjoy that. Now, what we're going to do over the winter, I have no idea. I mean, we're going to have a whole lot of fun in the fall when they start cleaning this place out. Some things are going to change, but I think they're going to change for good. All right, guys, so here is the haul from this particular Lowe's trip. I got some Dr. Earth Grow, which, you know me and Dr. Earth Grow, or any sort of beneficial fungus or beneficial bacteria inoculant. I just ended up buying a whole case of the Agriform tabs for like $75, and there's 500 in a case, and so I am good on I am good on the 2-year fertilizer tablets for a while. And then I've got the Violet Profusion salvia, and these were $4 a piece. So I ended up spending $24 just on the salvia. But remember, when you're shopping for clearance plants, and a lot of you already understand this, I think some of you probably know just as much as I do about plants and rescuing things from the clearance rack, but you're living vicariously through me, so which I do a lot too with other YouTubers. So here we go, you know, $24. I mean, geez Louise, guys, buy a half rack of ribs and a baked potato. 24 bucks, but this is gonna last years and years and years and years and years. So for me, it's about making some sacrifices. I do have some links in the description below. Now, I haven't explained that, but there's some links in some of the other videos that you might have already watched. But I'm gonna start doing that. I got an affiliate, Amazon affiliate thing, whatever. I didn't think I was big enough to actually qualify for it. And then, you know, 600 of you guys just came out of the woodwork. So now all of a sudden I can do that. And it shortened the link. And that's really what I wanted, is I wanted to be able to shorten the link. And if nothing else, I'm gonna be a bad salesman real quick, because I would get a commission on that stuff if you click on it. And if you could click on a link and look at Dr. Earthgrow and then end up buying a pocket watch, and I would get a commission on it. That's not what it's about. It's about you being able to click on the link, seeing what it looks like. You can also look at me hold it up. Oh. Look at me hold it up and say, Dr. Earthgrow all-purpose fertilizer at Lowe's is $8. So see if your Lowe's has it. If not, they might be able to order it from you, order it for you. So don't think about that, but if you shop on Amazon, click on one of my links and then go do your shopping, boo, and it will help out the channel. I guarantee I'm just gonna spend it on plants. My name's Stuart Moore. Thanks for hanging out, guys.